Straight ahead on this week's edition of Hawkeye Sports Report. A showdown between two Mack trucks is about to go down this weekend in East Lansing. We'll break down Iowa's matchup with the Spartans coming up. And a former Hawkeye gymnast talks about lessons learned from both of her past coaches, one of whom is one of the most heralded gymnastics coaches in the world. And two huge wins in the nation's toughest conference this past weekend for the volleyball team. We'll have their reaction right around the corner on Hawkeye Sports Report. Welcome into Hawkeye Sports Report. After a week off, it's back to the gridiron for the Iowa football team. They head east to East Lansing this weekend for their first true road test of the year.
The trip to Chicago was a good exercise. Certainly the environment in the stadium was not like what we'll face in our next 4 away games. Yet, at least we went through the process of being on the road, and I thought certainly the young team, that was a positive. But nothing like what we'll see this week. So, at the end of the day, we just have to try to block that out and have to be a little bit more focused than you would be at home. And just realize it's going to be, a pretty tough environment from that standpoint. But the biggest thing is still the team on the field, and that's more of a concern to us than maybe the stadium.
It's definitely going to be a huge key task for us this week. We haven't been on a true away game yet. And their stadium is huge, and they have great fans. So, we're going to have to prepare a little better this week to be able to get the job done.
Well, I mean, the bye week I thought was good. Got some guys who've been playing a lot, some rest, but at the same time, we're able to get some practices in to move us forward. So I think we had a good bye week, and we're looking forward to getting started on the game week.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. I mean, you've seen Michigan State play. They have a tough, physical defense.
It's still the same mentality, though. You just go in, run as hard as you can anytime. You're willing to go out. You just got to go out there and just improve during this week, and then on the game field, you just got to show it.
Do you approach it differently now that Damon's coming back, that you can, empty it a little bit more on some of the plays?
I don't know. I empty it pretty much on any play. I don't save anything. You can't really be saving stuff out there. You got to work as hard as you can. If you're too tired to go, then someone else will come in.
The outside to the 5 and into the end zone for the touchdown.
But the whole defense is geared towards stopping number 24.
Trying to get to the outside, and he will not.
Anthony Hitchens slams Shortell to the ground.
Golston getting to Radcliffe.
Straight up the middle, into the end zone. Receiver to the top of the screen, Weissman to carry. He's got the first down and into the clear. Not only a first down, but a touchdown.
We now welcome in Hawkeye Radio Network's Rob Brooks. Rob, the bye week is come and gone. Michigan State is standing right in front of Iowa right now. In this game, when you look at it, it is going to be power versus power.
This is old-time, old-school Big Ten football when these two teams get together. And if you really like traditional power running games, this is the weekend for you, because you look at Michigan State, you have to talk about first and foremost Le'Veon Bell. Already has carried the ball 171 times for over 800 yards, averaging 4.5 yards per carry. And then, of course, we know about Mark Weissman and what he has done for the Hawkeyes. And I heard Mark D'Antonio talk about Weissman this week, and he mentioned that Weissman has got great toughness, good vision, good hands, doesn't fumble. In his opinion, signs of greatness.
Weissman has been great, that is for sure, but now Damon Bullock's going to be back into the mix here. How do you see them factoring in together?
Well, of course, you can't have too many running backs, and what Mark Weissman has done the last several weeks has been outstanding, but let's not forget that Damon Bullock was off to a terrific start as well. Will we see both of them in the backfield at the same time? I think that's a good possibility. Also, Mark Weissman has played the slot and the wide receiver position at times. Damon Bullock, of course, is very familiar with that position. I would think that we would see him in the slot along with Weissman on the field, and I think when you look at Michigan State having to prepare for both of these backs, if they're on the field at the same time, that just adds to the preparation that Michigan State has had during the week.
Right, and if you look at it on paper, it's two top defenses versus two of the bottom offenses in the Big Ten. How does this stack up on paper in your eyes?
Well, I think you look at total defense, Michigan State #1 in the conference and Iowa #3, so it really comes down to that line play. Both of these teams really pride themselves on stopping the run. A couple of defenders to really watch that I think will be key this weekend for Michigan State. Max Bulla, who is their leading tackler at 47 tackles this year, has 4.5 tackles for loss, and then who can forget William Golston? 22 tackles, that big defensive end, 5 tackles for loss and a sack. I think those are the two players that Iowa will have to keep out of their backfield.
And now if we look at the schedule, it's been since the first weekend in September since Iowa's played on the road. Does that present any problems for Iowa?
Well, I think the thing that really presents a problem is how good Michigan State has been over the years. They've won 26 games since 2010. That's tied for 8th in the country. They have back-to-back 11-win seasons. But this is a very difficult place to play in Spartan Stadium. Not unlike Kinnick, the crowd is right next to the sidelines, and they are noisy. And then when you look at the last two close ball games up there, just been terrific battles. They have been decided by 5 points combined.
Well, it's sure set up to be another close game, it sure seems like. Rob, thanks for stopping by.
Thank you. Always look forward to the Hawkeyes and the Spartans.
Yep, absolutely. The game can be seen on ESPN at 11 a.m. on Saturday. We'll be back with more Hawkeye Sports Report after this. It was another successful weekend in Hawkeye athletics. Let's take a look back in this week's Hawkeye Express. The field hockey team hit the road for 2 road games over the weekend. Friday they played in soaking wet conditions at Indiana. Even went through a 40-minute lightning delay. They come back out, tie the game up, eventually go to overtime where Aubrey Coleman scores on the breakaway for the 2-1 win. Team not so lucky on Sunday as they fall to Louisville 2-1. The soccer team traveled to Minnesota and played to their 3rd straight draw. The shutout breaks the school record for shutouts in the season. The tie moves their record to 11, 1-3. The women's golf team had one of their best finishes in a tournament in a long time as they finished 6 out of the 19 teams at the Johnny Imes Invitational. A lot of records set in this tournament. Their score in the final round of 18 was the 5th lowest in school history. Their 36-hole total was the 4th lowest in school history. And their 3-round total was also the 5th best in school history. Individually, Lauren English finished tied for 8th and in her final round shot a 68, which is the 2nd lowest score in school history. And the highlight of the weekend came from the volleyball program. In search of their first conference win of the season, they didn't get just 1, but 2 on the weekend. They knock off Indiana Friday, and then Saturday they take 3 straight at number 12 ranked Purdue. Coach Dingman is hoping the team can use the momentum going forward.
Oh, I think we have to move on. We're not going to forget it because it's momentum, it's confidence, it's everything that the Hawkeyes need going into the next weekend. And, so forgetting it isn't an option. We want to remember, the players need to remember how hard it was to win those matches, how hard they played, and their preparation, and all the things that they did that was different from the weekend before.
The win was in the past right now. It was a great weekend, and we can only take that momentum into Minnesota and Wisconsin this weekend, so it's what we got to work on in practice.
It's definitely known that our away trips this year, we played consistently at a high level, and our home trips, we kind of haven't played to our full potential. So we want to keep that going consistently at Carver and show our true fans what we can do and what we're capable of. So I think it's just more of being consistent.
Let's now take a look at this week's Players of the Week.
This week's Player of the Week is volleyball's Alex Lovell. Lovell led the Hawkeyes to huge road wins at Indiana and Purdue. She came through with 37 kills and 3 aces and 14 digs. The junior was named Iowa's first Big Ten Player of the Week in volleyball since 2006. Alex Lovell, this week's Hawkeye Sports Report Player of the Week.
Former Hawkeye gymnast Jessa Hansen has been surrounded with nothing but an abundance of knowledge and guidance her entire life. From growing up and being lifelong friends with Olympic gold medalist Shawn Johnson, to being coached when she was younger by world-famous gymnastics coach and former Iowa assistant coach Liang Chow, and most recently was coached by former Olympian and Hawkeye head coach Larissa Libby. Hansen, Chow, and Libby recently sat down to touch upon some of the important lessons they have learned from each other. The resume is quite impressive for gymnastics coach Liang Chow, a former Chinese gymnast who won over 30 gold medals in international competition, and a former assistant coach for Iowa Gymnastics from 1991 to 1998, is now one of the most prolific coaches in the world after coaching Shawn Johnson and Gabby Douglas to gold medals in each at the last 2 Olympiads. But it's not about the success on the competition floor that puts the ever-so-contagious smile on his face.
I think it doesn't matter what kind of level we're competing at. I think it's a matter of training the next generation for dealing with the life. I think this is a winner, said by me, for life.
That person that sits by Chow is former Iowa gymnast Jessa Hansen, who was one of the first members of Chow's gym at the age of just 8. It was there she began learning the basics of gymnastics, and more importantly, the basics of what would make her successful down the road later in life.
I've taken the foundation that you've built for me. You taught me all the moral character type things, hard work, discipline, right attitude, respect is huge. And so You know, I really carried that on to college, and going back to Chow's, like, that's my home gym, you know, and so this is my family. When I was training, I spent more time at the gym than at home, so, you know, these are my second parents growing up, and so when I come back, it's really great.
To the other side of Chow is current women's gymnastics head coach Larissa Libby. Libby, a former international standout gymnast herself, actually met Chow on the international circuit when both were involved in competition.
I was 13. I remember very vividly, I think that we were at mixed pairs in Germany, and I watched his gymnastics. It was brilliant gymnastics. Beyond that, he was the only competitor that always smiled. As you can see, he's always smiling, and so before I ever knew him, my family and I had nicknamed him Smiley. We were sent on the same international circuit for a long time. Eventually, we kind of broke the ice and said hello. We lost touch after I graduated, went to university, and then he ended up at Iowa, and I was at LSU, and I saw him coaching when I was a student athlete at LSU.
After reconnecting with Chow, eventually Libby was fortunate enough to recruit Hanson to Iowa, where she grew into a go-to performer and a mainstay in the lineup during her 4-year career. Now that Hanson is done competing, she and Libby both admit it's the foundation she built at Chow's gym and the University of Iowa that will make Hanson successful in her professional life ahead.
You don't even know how well you've done with those basics until you get the grown-ups, and Jessa's now coaching with us, and she is a phenomenal coach, and you can see what she was taught by Chow in what she says and how she handles herself and what she demands from her athletes. Above all, respect. It is the first thing that we look for. So
foundation.
It is. It's that foundation. You never, I mean, I don't think we'll ever break that unless, you know, he goes back to China or something, but.
I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm trying all these different things, but I definitely got the best foundation I possibly could from the university. And being a student athlete, you learn so many things, like from Larissa, from time management, working with a team, being a leader, knowing what it takes to be successful. So I just hope to use those principles and carry them on to my professional life.
Chow was most recently the Grand Marshal for Homecoming in Iowa City. And if you wonder why Chow is so vocal about being a Hawkeye and supporting the black and gold, he's very quick to say it was here at the University of Iowa where he built his foundation that he's now passing on to current and future Olympians in his gym.
Talk about foundation in gymnastics. I think the University of Iowa gives me a very good foundation to prepare for me as a businessman, as a coach, as you know, building up my own program, and the language, the friendship, and the leadership I have learned at Iowa. That was a good foundation.
Former Hawkeye great Alex Karras died Wednesday, October 10th. An Indiana native, Karras played at Iowa from 1955 to 1957. In 1956, Karras helped lead the Hawkeyes to their first Rose Bowl appearance, a victory over Oregon State on January 1st, 1957. He received first-team All-America honors in both 56 and 57, including consensus honors in 57. The Outland Trophy winner is the nation's best interior lineman in his senior year. Karras was the runner-up in the Heisman Trophy voting.
And then with seconds remaining, burly, rugged Alex Karras slams Roseboro to the ground just a yard or two from a safety.
Karras was the 10th overall pick in the 1958 NFL Draft. He played 161 games for the Detroit Lions through the 1970 season, was a 4-time Pro Bowler, and a member of the 1960s All-Decade team. Karras was known for many things away from the football field as well. He had multiple stints as a pro wrestler. He was a commentator for Monday Night Football. He appeared on the TV show Webster and in movies such as Blazing Saddles. Karras even hosted Saturday Night Live.
Ladies and gentlemen, Alex Karras. My name is Dale Butterworth, sir.
You nervous, Butterworth?
No, it's just...
An inductee of the University of Iowa Athletics Hall of Fame, Karras was 77 years old. Play of the week number 1 occurred in West Lafayette, Indiana. Its match point as the Boilermakers can't handle the heat from Alex Lovell, and Iowa upsets 12th-ranked Purdue. It capped a huge weekend for the Hawkeyes. The second play of the week comes from Bloomington, Indiana. Extra time for the Hawkeyes and Hoosiers when junior Aubrey Coleman comes through with the game winner. 2-1 was the final as the Hawks improved to 3-0 in Big Ten play.
It's time now for this week's Hawkeye Student Athlete Spotlight. This week's Hawkeye to watch is field hockey standout and 2011 Female Athlete of the Year at Iowa, Jessica Barnett.
Goal, University of Iowa, scored by number 8, Jessica Barnett.
I think we definitely have our goals. We want to focus on our day-to-day type of I guess, practices and just getting the little things done, really focusing in and honing in on our skills and not looking forward to the Big Ten tournament, anything past that, just day-to-day, one game at a time. It's really amazing to know we've come so far. The ups and the downs, they've made us who we are today, so it's just really exciting to know that we can have such great moments this year.
Hawkeyes looking to build on their lead. Leshak across the rip, make it 2-0. Jessica Barnett, the powerful strike for the Hawkeyes.
I would say I'm a pretty aggressive player. I don't go in there with any hesitation. I think I take pride in being a competitor, and that helps me both defensively and offensively. I mean, I'm on the offensive corner unit, and that's where most of the goals come from. But no, I definitely take pride all over the field.
And great execution coming from the top of the circle. Finding just inside that narrow space in between the goalie's feet and the post is a very hard target to hit.
Scoring for Iowa, number 8.
So what an afternoon in the Buckeye State for Jessica Barnett, not once, but twice.
I think it's definitely very exciting that we are going to be hosting the tournament this year. I know to end my senior season, my last Big Ten game on this field is definitely something I look forward to for sure.
Finally, let's take a look at what's to come this weekend in Hawkeye athletics for all the fall sports and competition. Field hockey will embark on their final and most important road trip of the season. They travel to nationally ranked Drexel Friday and nationally ranked Penn State on Sunday. The soccer team will try to snap out of its 3-game draw streak as they host Ohio State Friday night under the lights. They'll be back at it Sunday afternoon at 1 in a huge matchup when they host soccer powerhouse Penn State. Volleyball will also be home this weekend. Another top-ranked opponent awaits them Friday night at 7 o'clock in 10th-ranked Minnesota. They then will play host to Wisconsin Saturday night at 7. And the women's golf team will try to carry the momentum from their last record-breaking meet into the weekend as they wrap up their fall season Saturday and Sunday in Florence, Indiana at the Hoosier Fall Invitational.
We're really excited about our progress. We've had some great play from a lot of different people, so a lot of outstanding individual performances. And finally, last week in Missouri, we kind of put it together as a team and shot some really good numbers.
We had a good weekend as a team. It was good to see Lauren shoot a 68. I had a hole-in-one for my first time, so that was exciting. So there's a lot that brought us closer as a team and was able to move up that leaderboard.
I've never had a bogey-free round in a tournament before, and I can't remember the last time I've had it in practice, so it felt really great, and it just felt so smoothly all day, and I was really content. We all did really well as a team, especially the last day. We all kept in the 70s and around in the 60s too, which is really good going into this next tournament.
We're playing pretty solid. We've gotten better every week, so we're just hoping that this last tournament we get even better.
Men's golf will also hit the links this weekend at the Rod Myers Invitational in Durham, North Carolina. Rowing will be back on the water Sunday at the Head of the Rock in Rockford, Illinois, in head coach Steve Pritzker's second meet as a Hawkeye. Women's cross country heads to Madison, Wisconsin Friday for the Adidas Invitational, and the men will hit the course Saturday at the Pre-National Invitational in Louisville, Kentucky. And finally, football hits the road to East Lansing. All Hawkeye fans remember the last trip to East Lansing as Marvin McNutt kept the magical season alive in 2009 with a catch at the goal line on the final play of the game to give the Hawkeyes the win.
Here we go. Final play of the game. McNutt splits wide left. Moeaki goes out that way with him.
DJK and Struss split wide to the right. Morse, the fullback, stays in. Stanzi goes up under center. Raphael Eubanks. Let's see what Michigan State does. Here's the snap. Stanzi on a quick slant has
touchdown!
Caught.
Touchdown!
Touchdown! Marvin McNutt on the catch on the final play of the game. The Hawkeyes defeat Michigan State.
Motion, and then we all run slants.
It was just one of those games where it was kind of grinded out, and then we had some crazy things going on at the end.
Last play of the game. Stanzi, McNutt, touchdown!
Yeah, I worked my release move, and I probably gave him a little head, but really just try to flip the hips of the DB and work your release.
Like I said, it's the communication thing. We've done it so many times in practice that, I know he's going to get open, and he knows I'll get him the ball, and the O-line knows they'll protect, and that's, that's really all it came down to.
We had been trying to get the fade ball to him a couple times earlier there, and he made the nice break inside, made a great grab. So it was a great execution, but certainly a lot of credit to Ken O'Keefe. What a fantastic call.
Hopefully another memorable trip up there for the Hawks this weekend. For a look at more schedules, recaps, photos, and videos, don't forget to check out HawkeyeSports.com. Best of luck to everyone competing this weekend, and go Hawks!